invite you to simply close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vakrajandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Om Vakratundaya Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvigyam Kuru Me Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Suklam Bharadram Vishnu Sasivarnam Chaturjam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavignyopashantaye. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Om Ekadantaya Vidmahi Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Namo Namaha.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that means essentially truth community, a community of truth, which sounds pretty cool. It's whenever two or more people on the path of awakening come together to share their journeys, to share their presence, to share the space, that awakened space that's generated in the presence of one who's awakened or awakening. And when we come together like this, we multiply one another's spiritual strength, and so it's so important to be part of a spiritual community. We invite you to join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing with all the participants in the satsang. The Flowering Heart Blessing is a direct transmission of divine grace, unconditional love, awakened consciousness that catalyzes in the receiver the process of awakening. If that process is already underway, it removes blocks and it smooths the way. For those who are already awakened, congratulations, it's not a destination. And the Flowering Heart Blessing will just take you deeper and deeper and deeper into the infinite journey of awakening and expansion. Once you've received one Flowering Heart Blessing, and you're soaking in it right now, then you're fully initiated to be able to share it with others. So all you need to do is invite the Divine Presence to pour the blessing through you and hold an intention to pour it out to those that are in the satsang this evening with us and those that will ever view the video recording of this satsang at any time in the future. That works so easily because the Flowering Heart Blessing is spirit, and spirit is unbounded by time or space. There's no distance, there's no time. It's always here and now. So you could watch this recording 50 years from now and it would still carry the same presence, the same anointing that we enjoy so much. So glad you're here. I don't think we have any announcements. No? Which is just fine. So if you're new to these gatherings, we give the first 10 minutes or so to silent meditation as the music plays, and then we share any announcements and we open it to questions and answers on the spiritual journey, the path of awakening, the path to divine union, the path to God realization, meditation, past lives, future lives, simultaneous lives. Any questions you might have that you've been pondering about spirituality, best your own journey, some things you may be experiencing or wishing to but aren't experiencing. When you ask those questions, it nudges the divine to pour inspiration through Suzanne and me to share with you, and it helps all of us. So listen inside for that still small voice. What could I ask? Or you could share an insight too, or a breakthrough. It doesn't always have to be a question. And we would love to hear it. So ask that inner voice if you've got something that would be stimulating for the community tonight. And while I give you a few minutes to think about that, I'm going to read from a website called inspiringquotes.com. Group of authors that write little articles and then share collections of quotes from inspired people throughout time that shed light on that particular subject. Tonight, I'm going to share 16 quotes about the power of generosity. And this was written and compiled by April Davila. April Davila is a lover of words. Her debut novel, 142 Ostriches, was released in 2020. And here's what Davila, April Davila has to say about generosity. Generosity as a practice stumped scientists for years. The fact that people will share their money, food, energy, and time, even when resources are scarce, seems to go against our basic human instinct for survival. Recently, however, research has begun to explain what many people understand in their hearts. Generosity is good for both the giver and the receiver. Recent studies have shown that generous people tend to have more friends, experience greater satisfaction with their lives and careers, often have a more positive outlook on life, and can even enjoy better physical and mental health. And that's just for the person doing the giving, before considering the benefits to the recipients of their generosity. Donations made by everyday people have supported organizations advocating for civil rights, arts and culture, the environment, education, animal welfare, and healthcare, to name just a few. And overall, charitable giving has gone up in recent years. According to Forbes, donations to charities jumped 5.1% in 2020, even as the COVID-19 pandemic decreased the United States gross domestic product by 2.3%. As these heartening statistics show, I've never found statistics heartening. As these heartening statistics show, generosity is one of those human habits that reveals our innately good nature. Below are 16 quotes about the spirit of sharing and all the good it can do in the world. So here we go. Generosity is the most natural, outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. The Dalai Lama. It is a powerful practice to be generous when you are the one feeling in need. Alan Lokos, meditation teacher. Happiness is not made by what we own. It is what we share. Jonathan Sacks, rabbi and philosopher. Money is but one venue for generosity. Kindness is an even more valuable currency. Alan Cohen, inspirational author.
Those are great.
Generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. Khalil Gibran, poet and artist. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Simone Weil. Sometimes, when we're generous in small, barely detectable ways, it can change someone else's life forever. Margaret Cho. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Source unknown. I've found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver. Maya Angelou. Money is not the only commodity that is fun to give. We can give time. We can give our expertise. We can give our love, or simply give a smile. Steve Goodyear, motivational writer. Think of giving not as a duty, but as a privilege. John D. Rockefeller Jr. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Pablo Picasso. In the end, maybe it's wiser to surrender before the miraculous scope of human generosity and to just keep saying thank you forever and sincerely for as long as we have voices. Elizabeth Gilbert, author. It is every man's obligation to put back into the world at least the equivalent of what he takes out of it. Albert Einstein. Real generosity is doing something nice for someone who will never find out. Frank A. Clark, politician. It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving. Mother Teresa. Those are nice.
Really nice. Good reminders.
Indeed. So, let's see what we got.
We have love bubbles.
Well, thank you, More. She says, your colors are so beautiful.
Oh.
And Maury says, I started curating and reduced social networks. Now I don't carry the world in my shoulders and feel so released and in peace. Yeah. The other list of quotes I was thinking of reading today was in encouragement of a minimalist lifestyle, all about letting go and getting rid of everything we don't really need. So, and curating was a word that was used in that article. So you curated and you reduced social networks. Great idea. Just currently in the United States, the Surgeon General of the United States is requesting that a warning label be put on social media platforms, similar to what by law is put on tobacco products in the United States. That the Surgeon General warns that smoking may be harmful to your health, risk of cancer, death, all that. He wants to put a similar warning on all social media platforms. He said those warnings actually convey a message that reduces the use of the things that are warned against. And he is saying that the young people really need to get this. So,
I don't know if it's just young people.
well, evidently more, but she's young at heart. Ekaterina writes, could it be possible to have physical signs of spiritual development, like the buzzing of the ears or some want to see rather than being? Wait a minute. Where'd it go? How did it do that?
Somebody else posted.
Could it be possible to have physical signs of spiritual development, like the buzzing of the ears or some sensation in the seventh chakra or even stomach disease? I have some of them, and doctors don't have explanation. Well, yes. I wouldn't call them physical signs, I'd call them physical side effects. Because whatever happens in the physical realm may be the result of the awakening and expansion of spiritual energies, like buzzing in the seventh chakra. Sometimes people feel a buzzing or a pressure in the middle of their foreheads when the sixth chakra is coming open. But that stuff's not necessarily spiritual. It can be psychic. Human beings have tremendous psychic abilities that many of us don't realize and haven't discovered yet. And in the practice of meditation and yoga and yogic breathing, these dormant psychic abilities can become awakened. And some people are very advanced through practicing certain meditative and yogic techniques at being able to see auras, being able to intuit other people's thoughts, being able to use their vital energy to heal other people. None of that's spiritual, interestingly. Those are psychic phenomena that are the result of the vital energy awakening in and causing the chakras, the energy centers, to open. So they're physical signs of something, but there are some extremely arrogant and unspiritual people that have very powerful psychic powers. And they would say, well, I've got buzzing, I see light in my head, I I hear these sounds in my ears, I can feel the energy, I can move the energy. And yet they're infants on the spiritual journey, which is all about the dismantling of the false self and awakening to our true essence, which is one with the divine, which is one with all that is. So I've seen people sort of led astray thinking that because their bodies are shaking and buzzing, that means they're getting spiritual. It doesn't mean you're not getting spiritual. So I've seen people, as a result of genuine spiritual awakenings and the release of the Kundalini energy, have some of these things that you're describing. Stomach disease, not so much. Spirituality doesn't generally cause disease in any way, which is lack of ease. But we've been learning in the book club, and you've been joining in with us there, that there's something in the spiritual journey we call the unloading of the unconscious, which is all the suppressed emotional garbage from a lifetime and all the negative feelings and experiences and memories and thoughts and all the emotional energy attached to that. As that stuff comes up, especially if we feel resistance and they're very unpleasant emotional energies, the stomach could get upset. Is that a sign of spiritual growth? Well, in that case, it could be, if we're talking about the unloading of the contents of the unconscious as a result of meditation practices and other spiritual practices. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah. I think what most people don't realize is that when we come into this world, we have incredible psychic abilities. And one of my favorite games to play with small babies is I like to ask my aura to sparkle and move around in different colors. I can't see auras, but I can feel it. And so I can feel it when it gets going, and the babies will actually, they'll be looking all over the place. They get big, their eyes get really big, and their smiles and sometimes giggles. We had all of this knowledge when we lived more in connection with the land and nature, and we've gotten so far from that. And each generation that their parents don't know that these abilities exist, we get further and further away, and we get further away from turning to nature if we're not feeling well or out of balance. We just go to the drugstore and buy something to mask the symptoms. So there's so many different levels to our being. I mean, any of us have the ability to be psychic or clairvoyant or clairaudio or clairsentient or feel what other people are feeling and have super heightened awareness of the senses. We've just gotten so far away from that. So that's why Michael was, pointing to, people that do meditation practices and spend time and being more in touch instead of just being scattered in the outer world. Anybody can develop these gifts, and it doesn't necessarily, like you said, have anything to do with spirituality.
But it could, like Yekaterina mentioned, buzzing of the ears. I mean, it could be tinnitus. Or there's a whole yoga, nada yoga, the yoga of the inner sound. I have a dear old friend that sometimes drops in on these. I won't tell your name, but he's been a practitioner of nada yoga for so many years, and it's something that we were initiated into and practiced during some of my time in India. And there are all kinds of sort of the more superficial, it's just like the humming of electricity going through your nervous system. But there are inner sounds that sound like crickets chirping, but there are also inner sounds that sound like a flute playing, or cymbals, or drums.
I hear chimes.
Chimes, yes. And all of those different inner sounds are indicators of certain levels of consciousness within. And then there's one that is like a thunderbolt, like a full-blown thunderclap, and that often heralds the stroke of enlightenment, according to Nada Yoga teaching. So it can be, and in certain yogic systems, esoteric systems, things like inner sounds can be indicators, but it's more than just buzzing in the ears, for sure. And I've experienced sensations in the 7th chakra just through certain network chiropractic adjustments. I forget the name of it. It's awesome stuff. And it just felt like fingers all over the top of my head massaging the crown chakra. And I had it done several times by this network chiropractor. Who's really an amazing healer. And was that a sign of my spiritual development? No, it was a sign of a very great chiropractic adjustment that opened up,
Kundalini movie.
Energy field and all of that. And the fact that doctors can't figure out some of these side effects that are caused by spiritual phenomena, of course, that are caused by psychic phenomena, of course, that are caused by energetic phenomena. Because now we have a whole lot of healing sciences that are accepted, like acupuncture and oriental medicine, that are mainstream modalities that work with the vital energy, the chi, the prana, to bring healing. But most doctors, who, unless they've studied oriental medicine or some esoteric healing system, if you say you've got a stomach ache, are not going to say, "Oh, I perceive a block in your stomach meridian. Here, let me help you out." So we have to look at it from different angles. Indeed.
Good question.
Mm-hmm. Michael Christopher writes, interestingly, right after this, should we trust signs? Is it possible to be searching for a sign and only manifest what we want to see rather than being directed from the divine? What do we know to trust? Well, that does differ from individual to individual, what we know to trust. Some of us are actually guided by the presence itself. And the Christians talk about being led by the Holy Spirit. So the divine presence does give us direction in various ways. And especially the less sensitive and the less trusting we are, we'd like to see a sign, show me a rainbow in the sky, I was going through a particular hard time in life, and an angel came to me and started talking to me, and I was so filled with doubt and so much pain. I said, look, I'm just doubting this whole thing. If you're real, I've been living here, back then it was like 20 years ago, I've been living here for 50 years in Florida mostly, and I have never ever found a shark's tooth, a fossilized shark's tooth. So if you're really an angel of the Most High sent to tell me what you just told me, manifest a shark's tooth for me. Boom! On the ground right in front of me was a perfect, beautiful, fossilized shark's tooth. Now, that wasn't a sign of my great faith. I needed a sign to believe. Christ said that a wicked generation requires signs to believe. But it's something that humans have been doing from time immemorial. Divination is a little like that. You throw the coins or the bones or the cowrie shells, or the yarrow stalks or various forms of divination, because we've got to see something physical to let our intuition speak to us what the universe is saying. So should we trust signs? Not necessarily. I wouldn't say just distrust all signs, because sometimes indeed God uses signs. I wasn't punished for that shark's tooth thing. I've still got that tooth, and I will always remember it. And the graciousness of God to put up with my unbelief and to send an angel, first of all, and then when I disbelieved what was happening, to manifest that first shark's tooth in 50 years. Right, just instantly. There's no question to me that that was a sign. But you're also right that we may manifest what we want to see. So if you're hoping to get a sign that doing a certain thing is okay with God or in harmony with the divine will, you could manifest or manufacture a sign, and that might not be God. So what do we trust in? Well, if you have a direct personal relationship with the divine presence, trust that. And trust the intuitive wisdom of the heart, not all the ramblings and the conflict of the mind. Christ's brother, James, in his epistle said that the wisdom that comes, well, first of all, he says, every good and perfect gift in this world comes down from above, from the Father of lights, who is never changes and has no shadow at all within him. But and that wisdom that comes from above is pure, peaceful, and easy to be entreated. So you just have a in your heart. Now I know what to do. This just feels right through and through, and you feel peace about it. But James says, but if there's confusion and struggle, that is not the wisdom that comes from above. That's earthly and sensual and sometimes even demonic, meaning another spirit trying to mislead you. So we've learned to drop out of our heads into our hearts and listen to the voice of our hearts, and always question the voice of the mind, which is always that struggle James was talking about, where there's confusion and there's struggle and there's wrestling. And we all know what that's like when we're trying to get some guidance or make a decision and exercise discernment. We're just in our heads being tossed to and fro. And if we grow a little bit, we learn to just wait till the mud settles before making a decision or taking action, and drop into our hearts and just listen. The divine doesn't always speak to us with an audible voice or with a vision. We'd all like that. We'd like to hear the voice, hello, I am your divine. I have a special message and mission for you. Here's the plan. And then we see sparkling like white and blue light in this amazing aura that is expanding into space. We'd all like that. But usually the divine communicates to us in silence through the intuition of our hearts. So that's a couple steps removed from relying on external signs. External signs are the most prone to deception because they're coming through your physical senses, not your spirit. And that information being presented to your physical senses is being processed, first of all, by your brain. And so you can see there's a lot of room there for deceiving ourselves. Whereas when we just rely on the Spirit whispering intuitively within our hearts and giving us that inner sense of certainty and calm and peace, that's the way to go. And Stacy writes, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. John, Paul, Ringo, and George, those were the boys. And Morey wrote, yes! And Morey also writes, what defines whether psychics are spiritual or not depends on whether we put them at the service of God or not. Well, okay. But you could be a psychic with tremendous psychic powers who is brand new to the path of surrender and to divine service. And so how spiritual is that person? They're an absolute beginner with powers and gifts. So, yes, what defines whether any of us psychics or non-psychics are spiritual depends on if we are putting our gifts at the service of God. I mean, that is a lot to it. Spirituality is the cultivation of the spirit of humanity. Like, there are schools to train the mind. There are gyms and other facilities to train the body. There are now more and more schools to train the spirit. Spirituality is the cultivation of the spiritual dimension of our being. So, I think it's kind of odd even to like measure or put a measurement on how spiritual someone is. I mean, because it isn't exactly like that. As soon as we're, oh, you're pretty spiritual, she's super spiritual, he's not at all spiritual, that whole process is the analysis of the mind, analyzing and judging somebody else's spirit or my own spirit. So, yeah. But I like what you're saying, just that principle, that what defines whether a psychic is spiritual or not depends on whether they are putting their gifts in the service of the divine.
Right.
Huge step, yes.
Yeah.
Because we don't resist psychic gifts. I mean, it's wonderful if they awaken. We definitely want to put them at the service of the divine and not the service of our ego or our personal desires.
Yeah. It goes back to the similar answer to what Michael Christopher asked. It's like, what information are you getting, and is it coming from a place of peace and love, or is it coming from chaos and confusion? I was trying to decide where to move after I graduated from college, my early 20s, and I decided to go to a psychic. And I told her I was thinking of these two places, Santa Fe, New Mexico, or Portland, Oregon. And I'd never been to either place, but I was just going to move there. and she said, oh, no, do not go to Portland. You have a lot of karma there, and you're going to have nothing but disaster, and it's going to be terrible. And I walked away just kind of rattled. I thought, that wasn't coming from a place of love. It was almost like she was trying to guide my life on how I should live. And so I literally tossed a coin and it came up Portland. So I moved to Portland and I lived there for just over 10 years. And I had a wonderful time there. I met amazing people and started a family. And anyway, it was a really good move for me and brought me down here to Florida. And now I'm with this guy. So
we never would have met.
We never would have met if I had followed her advice. So everything happens for a reason, but I had to go into my heart and not get into the fear of, oh my gosh, this psychic just told me that I'm going to have a horrible time. So it wasn't coming from the heart, and it wasn't clear, even though she seemed like she was very clear.
In this time where there's so many mediums and channels, mm-hmm. Telling people what's going to happen in their lives and what they should do, it takes real discernment. I had the good fortune over the years to spend real quality time with a number of actual prophets who would have the Spirit of God come upon them and just sort of just take over and begin to speak through them. And boy, then you're going, how do I know if this is real or not? Well, one of the things I learned from a highly evolved prophet was that if someone comes to you with a personal prophecy, Suzanne, the Lord is saying to you that you should definitely not go to Portland. Thus saith the Lord. Okay. The simple rule of discernment, and there are others, but this is a good one, it clears a lot of space, is that prophecy that's being delivered to you echoing something you've already heard in your heart but haven't been listening to? God actually will never send someone from the outside to deliver a personal prophecy to you unless God has already been speaking to you in your heart, and you're just not hearing it or not listening. And so when it comes from the outside, you go, ooh, I've been hearing that. I've been hearing that, resisting that. Well, then that very well may be a merciful word from God. But if someone comes to you and like with Suzanne's experience and it didn't feel right, plus there was fear in that and all that, well, it didn't echo anything that God had been saying to her in her heart. Big red flag, just let it go. Because that's where we're to seek direction, is within, in our direct connection to the divine source. So when it comes from the outside, the question is, why is it coming from the outside like this?
Right.
And if it's because I've just been hard-hearted and I can't hear you, yeah. But these are great questions, and we've just scratched the surface tonight on these things, and we've been talking a lot about discernment.
Yeah, we have. I was very grateful that at such a young age that that I had that discernment, because obviously if I'm going to move someplace just by flipping a coin, I'm not responding to a lot of fear. And to be able to have that discernment, I had some really good teachers and meditation teachers, and really helped.
Some divination tools can actually be very useful in our training, whether it's the I Ching or whether it's the cards. They can train you, if you get in sync with them, to listen to your intuition, which you see sort of mirrored in the way that the cards fall, mirrored in the way that the coins are spread or whatever. And the idea is that as you grow, as your intuition grows, you let go of those outer props, and more you just listen in your heart. Exactly. And remember that God's primary language is silence. Only resorting to words when necessary. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And Anna writes, I love Portland. I live in Washington. Yep, God's country. And Stacy writes, I misused psychics for the first half of adulthood. My quest was driven by my obsession to know the script of life ahead of time. Predictions, even when they came true, never enriched me. But my bank balance was sure depleted.
Yeah.
And it didn't require a psychic to tell you that was going to be the result. Yeah. Indeed. If we knew what was coming, life would be so boring.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're let in on some things because it's important. God showed me 10 years of my life. This was like 40 years ago. 40, 50. It was a lot of years ago.
A few decades.
45 years ago. Anyway, showed me the next 10 years of my life. And if the divine hadn't shown me, I don't think I ever would have dared to step out. But all those things that were shown to me came to pass, and my life was greatly enriched. But that one came directly from the divine in prayer. And still, I didn't believe it. It took some convincing. But there are times, but it's unusual, where the divine will show you what's ahead. In Scripture, there certainly is a lot there. And in the Hindu scriptures about the yugas, the ages, and the golden age, the Sat Yuga to come. Christ had things to say about, similarly, the dawning of the divine kingdom in this world, which would be synonymous, really, with the Sat Yuga, and said there were certain signs actually, and certain things that he mentioned 2,000 years ago. So when you see these things begin to happen, you know that we're moving toward the threshold of that new world. So Wish we could talk about this all night.
I know.
But and Yekaterina says, Thomas Keating says that God is full of surprises. Absolutely. You betcha. And they're all good, as it turns out. Everything. God, it says in the Genesis, in the first chapter, God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. If it isn't good, if it isn't full of light, that's not the handwork of the divine. Well, what is it? Well,
People.
People. Yeah. We do all kinds of wild stuff that the divine allows so we can grow and learn. We only learn really from our mistakes. So let's move on. Close your eyes, invoke the presence, and begin to drink in the grace, the light, the unconditional love of the blessing of the divine. We hold a strong intention at these times during the satsang for divine intervention in your life through the flowering heart blessing, for spiritual awakening, release from suffering, the clearing of wrong thinking and emotions and programming, the dawning of divine inspiration within your heart and soul, the healing of your physical body, the healing of your relationships, and your work in the outer world. The divine knows exactly what you need, and it is pure unconditional love, and there is no distance between you and it. That's an illusion of the mind. It is yearning to pour into you all that you need and long for, to set you free, to fill you with joy and peace. It knows what you need before you ask. Just open your heart and receive. Drink in the blessing of the Most High. Just receive, drink it in, breathe it in, soak it up. There's nothing for you to do or ask for, just receive. Just relax. Let go, and the divine will draw you into the deepest union within itself. Imagine us sitting in a circle, a blessing circle, with our eyes closed. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and let us all take a strong intention for the presence to pour through every one of us the flowering heart blessing to all the others seated in the circle with us, as it flows back to us through all of them. Visualize the earth in the center of our circle, a beautiful, translucent, blue living planet. And let us take a strong intention together for the divine presence to heal the relationship between humanity and nature. For this to blossom, the heart of humanity must open to love and peace and to oneness with the divine. Be healed. May the human heart flower with unconditional love and compassion. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now relax your hands in your lap somewhere and open your eyes. Begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Keep gazing at least one of our eyes directly. As the light meditation begins, Suzanne and I are filled with oceans of light, love, and grace. It shines through our whole being, especially through our eyes. As you keep making eye contact, the light shines out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, to cause the light of awakening and the fires of divine love to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within you. Just receive. grace settles with him. And keep meditating as long as you like, or lie down near in Shavasana, which is to lie comfortably on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides, with your hands open, turned upward, and just dissolve with gratitude in the presence. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we cross paths again, know that the divine within us beholds the divine in you, and we bow to you. Namaste.